Thank you very much, Michaela, for the introduction and for having me here for this talk, as well as thanks everyone for tuning in today. Let me share my screen and go to full screen mode. My name is Mohammad Soltanieh-ha. I'm a faculty at the Information Systems Department at Boston University. I'm also currently a faculty expert at Google Cloud. Today, I'm going to talk about my journey and how did I go to the data science field from a physics background. And I'm going to be focusing on data science careers, specifically in the industry. And we'll discuss that. I'm going to try to keep this talk as informal as possible, it would be mainly, it's very much tailored towards my personal story. And there might be some of the transferable items here that maybe apply to the path you're interested in. But again, everyone's story, I think, is different, especially when you're taking a non-traditional path. You have to be kind of innovative and see what is possible, what is of interest to you, and discover the possibilities. I'll try to keep the talk short, and I would love to hear your thoughts, your questions, anything you want me to discuss. I would love to hear those. So I try to keep it short and get to your questions, have more time. They're at least 20 minutes, if not more. All right, so just a quick disclaimer that I'm employed by BU and also a faculty expert at Google Cloud. Anything I say here is in my own opinion and doesn't reflect any of the institutions I am associated with. All right, and I might mention some products, some items. I'm not financially affiliated with any of the companies I'm promoting their products. They are just purely based on the experience I've had as a user. The agenda of the talk, I'll tell you a little bit about my background, where I'm coming from, what I did before, and mainly focus on the transition that I made to the data science world, as well as, during that transition, how was the job search like? What are the things that you might want to consider now? Because my transition took place 5-6 years ago, and obviously 2020 has been has created a very different world. And what are the things that you could do during this climate and the crisis that we are all in? And it has pushed us to this very quick and fast digital transformation. So we'll talk a little bit about that and just a few tips about building a strong resume and building data science skills. I'll also share some materials in case you wanted to take on those materials and expand your skills. So briefly about me, I graduated from my physics undergraduate and physics master's degree in Iran. And then I started my PhD program at the University of Wyoming in 2010. Excuse me. And only 2 years in, I found out that my advisor is moving to Northeastern University. And he wanted me to move with him. So I applied again to grad school and moved to Northeastern University and finished my PhD there, which was a very welcome move for me, especially because I was getting interested to think about what are the other possibilities. And being in Boston has opened a lot of doors to me, at least at the time. We are talking about 2012. Now it doesn't really matter where you are, especially this year, right? So everything has moved virtual and online. So hopefully you can, regardless of the location where you are, you would be able to access to different resources and expand your horizons. But regardless, I got a master's degree from University of Wyoming based on the coursework I had completed by 2012. And they're all of my 4 degrees are in physics. Towards the end of my PhD program, I was asked to help with the American Physical Society to start a new, it's not really called chapter, but you can think of it as a sub-organization at the local level. APS was interested in, which was called Local Links. So we wanted to open up the branch in Boston, and I became active, one of the organizers, and we founded this. And one of the motivations I actually had to accept this responsibility, this role, was the hope that it will help me to meet people, network, and would help me for my job search. But before the first event we actually hosted, I had the job offer already. But it was so much fun that I decided to continue. I was with the Boston Local Links until a few months ago that APS decided to dissolve all of the local links. So all the 5 years, I was lucky enough to be one of the organizers. I'm mentioning this because I want you to think about what are the opportunities you can get engaged, and you can network with people, expand your network. And this is particularly important when you are switching fields, and you are, even if you're not switching fields, you want to get to know people in the area that you're looking for jobs. All right, so the day after I got my PhD, I started working as a data scientist at Info Dynamic Science Labs. And even though it was just back to back, a lot of preparation went into it that I'm going to talk about. I started thinking about, getting a job in data science about a year and 3-4 months maybe before my graduation. And I had an offer 3 months before my PhD defense. So I made sure I can finish up all of the coursework and all of the dissertation, everything that was needed, so I can start on time. And then I was with Info for about 3.5 years until about 2.5 years ago, I received an offer from Boston University to come teach data science courses at the Information Systems Department, which is a department at the business school. So it's been great so far. I've been teaching data analytics, data science courses, primarily to business school students, but also I have students who take my classes coming from stats and math department and some other colleges. It's been a great experience, and if you're curious and had any questions, please let me know. I'll talk about that more. 2019, related to data science, I had another service role with APS, and within the committees, the committee meetings that we had with the APS leadership and the CEO, it was suggested by myself and some others that we do need a data science group at APS because we at the time we weren't supporting it. And I was put in charge to found this data science group, and it was founded in 2019 and still going. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit. If you're interested in that area, you should definitely join this group. I'm currently the past chair of the topical group on data science, or GDS. And I was chair last year, now in the past year. And the group is very active, it's moving, it's growing really very rapidly. There are a lot of interesting things happening in this space. And then earlier this year, beginning of the year, I was invited to join a faculty cohort at Google Cloud to advocate for faculty members around the world that they want to use cloud computing in their classes and data science tools. So here we are, and let's see. As you can probably see from this simplistic picture, is that there's been a lot of things happening for me, and coming from physics world. It's kind of, it maybe looks like a rapid change here. 2015, all of a sudden I started working as a data scientist. But the actual work started a little bit earlier, and I'll talk about that. The research and work experience, my PhD thesis was on the interaction between charge spin and phonons in low dimensional strongly correlated electronic systems or strongly interacting systems. And so this was, the 5 years, 4.5 years I worked in my PhD. That was mainly the theme of my research. However, it was theoretical, it was computational. I was programming all the time, and I used a lot of data analysis tools, and some machine learning tools was used throughout my research. And that kind of background helped me a lot for making the transition. And then during my data science background in industry, I worked in multiple different projects in different areas, including hospital inventory optimization systems, or price recommendation for distributors, time series anomaly detection, customer churn forecasting, working with a financial firm on a similar problem. So I work on very different business domains, and it gave me a very nice overview of, at least at the time, what was going on, what were the companies looking for when it came to AI and data science. Since I joined BU, I started also working on machine learning related research. I've been working on computer vision and image classification in cancer research, as well as time series forecasting, doing a collaboration with the International Monetary Fund, and very different projects, but both are within the data science domain, along with some other smaller projects that I'm active besides my teaching. So I've been, as you can see, I've been fully, submerged in data science world, and I'm not currently doing any physics research anymore, but I feel like a lot of the learnings I had from my physics education, I can still apply in the problems that I'm solving here. Okay, so my personal experience, like how things went, and at one point I had to make a decision. This was the reality, and this came, and I knew I have to find my path. Do I want to continue working within physics? What kind of areas I'm looking for jobs? Am I going to apply for postdocs? What do I want to do? And I had to make a decision. So I took a sharp turn, and this wasn't easy. And I got lucky because I talked to a lot of people who were willing to share their experiences and open my eyes about what is out there, what is available. So let's talk about how did it happen. I have a few points that I think that were really important for me personally to switch gears, and I'm going to share them with you. But by no means that is a recipe, right? You have to, I think, you have to find your own personalized path. You are the one who is writing this script, right? So you have to decide what you want to do, which direction you want to go, but you also have to choose between the options that you are given. I'm going to try to share some of the thoughts that could increase your options. So one of the things that was extremely important for me to make this transition was doing a summer school in 2014 with Wolfram research. And this was an incredibly fun 3 weeks that during the 3 weeks, I learned a new programming language, Mathematica. I didn't have any prior experience with it, and also finished a forecasting project with real-time data coming from National Weather Services. I forgot exactly. I think it was NOAA. I could be wrong, but it was a very fun project that I would get these radar images that they would show the raining clouds, and I would make prediction whether it's going to rain at any given point within the next hour or so. Starting the 3 weeks, I had no idea I was able to finish this project in such a short amount of time, but I did. And with this project, I worked directly with Stephen Wolfram, who is a physicist, who is the founder of this company. You probably have heard his name. And also with a lot of people from that company. It was a great experience, and I don't think I've learned this much within a course of 3 weeks. This definitely prepared me for, well, actually this is a screenshot of the project, my application that I made, definitely helped me to prepare a story to tell when I was talking to employers and doing interviews. Before that, I would just casually talk to employers at the career fairs, and I would tell them about my very exciting research in quantum mechanics world, and they would just nod. And obviously, if somebody you're talking to is not a physicist, they would not have as much appreciation as I had as a graduate student. But the 3 weeks times I spent here gave me a story that I would talk to people, and everyone would understand what this project was doing, even though if they didn't know the details, but they would understand at a high level what it was doing. So it gave me a story to tell, which was an amazing opportunity. So this is just one example, something that you could think to find, not necessarily this summer school, but other similar opportunities that they would allow you to work on a project and have a story to tell. The other opportunity I found was, this is Boston's Charles River on the right-hand side. And this was the place I learned how to sail. And I realized someone was looking for volunteers to help her to build a class to teach robotics and coding to high school students. So I actually reached out to her and I said, I'm very interested. I don't know very much about robotics, but I know coding and I can help with that part. And it was one of my best experiences. We hacked these boats that you can see here. We bought these boats and we hacked them. We added a bunch of sensors to them and added an Arduino board that is programmable in a C-like language. And we started programming them, and using those, we taught programming to high school students. I did this for 2 years, and I got quite a few interviews just by saying that, yes, I've done some robotics, I've taught some robotics. But they allowed me to tell a story that people would understand what it is about, and it's not so specialized as a physics problem that most people without a physics training wouldn't know exactly what it is. And the other thing is, I probably could have done a better job to explaining my physics research. At the time, I couldn't. I didn't have the language. I couldn't explain. I would use terms that no one except myself, my advisor, and probably 10 other people around Boston area would understand what those meant. And that was, to be fair, that was one of the weaknesses of me going into the job market. I didn't know how to market myself. But with gaining these experiences, it became much easier. So the things that helped me with my transition, other things, I attended a lot of Boston meetups, and I talked to a lot of people who were doing different jobs and wanted to learn what their job entails, and if I'm interested in or not, what are the requirements, what should I learn. I also talked to a lot of employers, and I would go to career fairs around the Boston, not just my school. I would go to other universities, career fairs outside of universities. I would print my resume and I will show to people, ask them to give me feedback if they have a position for me, or what kind of skills would they like to see in order to, for them to consider me for one of the positions. One of the questions I would ask them was, what can I do for your company? What kind of job you have that might be suitable for me? And this was the time I still didn't know I wanted to do data science. I was, I never got a good answer for that. So, but just talking to them, talking to people, doing research, trying to figure out what it is I want to do, yield me after maybe 6 months, 8 months, yield me into this direction that, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to do data science. And I found my own story to tell. That was the most important piece. All right, so let's talk about job search. Job search itself obviously is not fun, right? It's stressful. You don't know what is coming next. Even if you get an offer, you don't know if that was the best offer you could have gotten. that offer may become the first week that you're looking for a job, or it could take 6 months, 1 year, or even longer. So you never know what is coming. There's a lot of uncertainty attached to it, but there are ways to lower the uncertainty. I think, first of all, you want to narrow down the area that you're, first of all, qualified for and interested in. And networking is everything. Talk to people, talk to potential employers, and try to apply to places that they know you. So resume, should speak for itself, but a lot of times that's not enough. A lot of times that personal connection. Have an elevator pitch. So when you're present, you want to say something about yourself. You have 20 seconds, 30 seconds. How would you present yourself? That's crucially important. You find that opportunity, you want to use it. And don't take longer than that. Okay, so find what skills are needed and learn them. Strong skills can get you the interview, but oftentimes what actually gets you the job offer is the applications of your skills, is the projects that you've done. Just telling people, I know programming, I know Python, I know statistics. That doesn't impress anyone. But if you say, I use these skills that I have to build this application that did this, and then that allows people to think about questions they want to ask you, spark conversation, and actually understand how much you know. Just saying, I know Python. I bet there are many people that would claim that, but people want to have a way to validate how much do you know. Let's talk about that. All right, so put yourself out there, build a strong online presence, especially this year, right, in this climate, and stay active on LinkedIn. Polish your social media presence, and it's LinkedIn, but also other things next to it. If you're interested in something like data science, you want to have a bold presence in GitHub. You want to have a GitHub profile, showcase the projects that you're working on or you have done in the past. Make sure on the project main page you have a good description of what you do. Maybe put a link of your GitHub in your resume so people can easily find it. So these are, when I'm talking about online presence, these are parts of it. If you can write an article, if you can find a topic, maybe about one of your projects, maybe about something else, write an article and self-publish it on medium.com or some other platforms. Okay, so meet new people. I know it's much more difficult this year, but still possible. Ask about their opinion. Ask about your resume. What do they think about your resume? What was their story? How did they get a job? And ask for introductions, but you want to be careful when you're doing that, and make sure that maybe at most you can ask one person for one introduction, if that, right? It's a tricky area, because especially somebody who doesn't know you very well, they don't necessarily want to jump in and introduce you to someone that they know. But make sure if you're asking, that connection you are making is worth it, right? Don't use up maybe your one coupon that you have. And apply online, that's basically what everyone is doing, but focus on places that they know you, right? So you've had a conversation with them. One of the things I did was I never applied without talking to someone. I only applied to places that they contacted me. We had a conversation, maybe at a career fair. They emailed me. They said, please go ahead and apply online. We want to bring you for an interview, or we want to call you, but you have to apply online. Then I went ahead and applied. I probably applied somewhere around 10, maybe less than 10 places, because I was applying very selectively. Some career advisors might tell you that's not the best strategy. They might maybe advise you to also apply some random places, because sometimes companies just go through their resumes and invite someone who they don't know. But if you know someone at a company, they can refer you, or if you've had a conversation with someone at that company, that definitely helps a lot. You should go ahead and apply. All right, so some of the things I personally think might be helpful, things that you can do during COVID to expand your experience and your horizons is, see if you can find some related experience. It could be internship, could be even unpaid internship, could be a volunteer experience, or it could be, maybe a short-term help for a project. Maybe, a colleague, a family member, a friend that they are working on a project. Maybe they're just started their startup, and you can help them short-term without a pay. Just get that experience. Maybe you can start your own idea, your own business. That would be also great. So as I mentioned, I talked about GitHub, Medium articles, things like that. These are going to help you to come up with people in the network, in the area that you're looking for jobs. Take online courses, especially if you're switching fields, you want to make sure that you know the topics that are important to that field. The language, the vocabulary that they use, and about the online platforms, Coursera, edX, Udemy, DataCamp. These are some of the well-known platforms. Maybe find a specialization. Oftentimes they have a package of courses. So you can say data science specialization, and they have 8 courses. Go through them in the same order. Just prepare yourself. Maybe you can host something yourself. Host a virtual event. Like I was telling you about the Boston Local Links earlier, that I volunteered to be an organizer. That was definitely very helpful. It's led me to know, hundreds of people in the past 5 years in the Boston area in different fields. If something like that is not possible for you to volunteer for professional organization, maybe create your own events. Invite colleagues and ask them to bring a friend, and have a theme for that. It could be just as easy as creating a Zoom link or another platform just to meet virtually. It doesn't, hosting events usually is very difficult because of the challenges, the cost, logistics, but with online, you don't have all of that. But make sure you have a theme. What are you talking about? It's not just, talking about the news or a movie. Have a theme. It is career related. You want to, if you come here, be ready to share your story about how did you get your job, etc. And one of those events might yield to someone say, oh yeah, I know someone from that company. Let me connect you, the company you're applying to. Okay, hackathons, data science hackathons and competitions. For instance, Kaggle.com is one of the platforms, but there are a lot of hackathons happening. Sign up for them. Some of them are local, some of them are just virtual at the global level. Sign up for them. Attend conferences, career fairs, and different places. Submit your resume. Building a strong resume is really important. The first thing you need to understand, and I'm sure you all do, but this is my personal experience at the physics department, was that most faculty members who work at the physics department, they were not prepared to help me with my resume. They were well qualified to help me with a CV, but they didn't have enough experience with a resume. So understand that resume is not a CV. There are a lot of differences between the two. It takes a village to build a good resume. Get professional help. I used to go to our university's career center to ask for their help. I went many times. I revised my resume so many times. I probably spent over 200 hours building my resume, and it's very exhaustive. But while making it, you just keep thinking, what else can I add? What do I need to learn? Ask these questions from yourself and ask these questions from other people, get their feedback, and move on. There are a couple of links I've added here. By the way, this slide, at the very last slide, I would share a short link so you can get access to them for the hyperlinks. So I have a couple of resources here these are resources from APS, primarily because I have very strong connections with APS, and these are the resources I'm aware of. But you know, SPS or other professional organizations that you might be affiliated with, they might have similar resources. Take advantage of them and get help. Tailor your resume. You know, you want to, for every job you're applying to, you want to tailor your resume. Look at the job description, put them side by side. Do I have the skills? Is it something I find interested in? Am I qualified for? If so, use the same language. If they use, you know, very specific word, bring that word to your resume. If you have it, if you have the background for it, very important. And especially if you have the skill set, bring it up. Let them know that yes, they're emphasizing on this tool, you already know what it is. Include a section that lists your skills. That's usually very important, but more than that, you want to show in your experience section that these are, not only I have these skills, but these are the places that I've used them. Connect the dots. You want to keep your resume to 1 page unless you have a PhD or many years of experience. Never go above 2. Keep it professional and interesting, but relevant. Let's see, your resume is substantially should be different from your online profile. So if you're on LinkedIn, your LinkedIn could be more thorough, could have more explanation about things you've done, but your resume should be very brief, but grabs the attention of people. All right, so if you want to present your projects, GitHub would be a good place for that. Moving on, let's talk about data scientists. I assume you're here because you're interested in the data science career path. Some of the skills that a data scientist would need to know. So obviously math and stat, they're way up there. Programming, especially these days, most companies are looking for people with Python or R programming experience, visualization and databases, written and verbal communication skills. These are very important. Domain knowledge, sometimes very important for the company, but a lot of times they understand maybe you're coming from a different domain knowledge, a domain background, so they don't enforce it and they understand you can pick it up. They have to be a problem solver and good with storytelling with data. So this is great, you know, but what do I do if I'm a physicist? Well, I have edited that previous slide with what I think physicists already have, and the areas that I think physicists or physics graduates can explore a little bit more. So the green parts, I think most physicists, if not all, they have a very good math and statistical background. Programming, typically, and this is just the data I have seen, and it doesn't apply to everyone, but typically physicists work with MATLAB or C++, programming languages like that, sometimes Fortran in the older days. But you know, you have to just make this transition to Python or R. I have underlined the Python because I think that's the area that maybe 70–80% of companies are looking for. Visualization, yeah, if you already did some data analysis during your school work, you already are familiar with that. Databases may be an area that you could expand a little bit more. I didn't get any database exposure during my PhD education. This was something I had to self-taught. I think we get very good written communication up to an extent during our physics education, but not a lot of verbal. So that's an area that requires practice, requires time, but that's really important in the data science world. And then domain knowledge. This could be, you know, again, depending on the role, it might be a lot of emphasis on the domain knowledge or not at all. I think the areas that I have highlighted here and are in green, problem solver, these are great, great properties of physicists. So you have to emphasize on that, hey, I'm a physicist, that means I'm a great problem solver. I'm really good with math and statistics. I'm really good with programming and visualization. And you can also show that you have filled these gaps that you've had. Okay, so I've added some of these data science skills that I think if you want to get started, these would be good, very good starting points, like learn Python programming, Jupyter Colab notebooks, the packages in Python that are popular and standard, basically, pandas for data manipulation, for a lot of different things. Everyone uses pandas, basically. Command line tools, Linux, database management, SQL, statistics. Even though if you know statistics from the physics world, seeing the industry you're applying to, what kind of language is being used, what area people are more interested. Advanced analytics and advanced statistics, machine learning, deep learning. These are the packages that people are using. Data visualization, Matplotlib, Seaborn, pretty standard. Cloud computing. And then when it comes to DevOps, you want to have some knowledge. You want to know how to run a virtual machine, for instance, in a cloud environment. Nowadays, cloud companies such as Amazon, Microsoft, Google, and others, they provide free training through videos and certification programs that they have, but they also provide free credits. For instance, Google Cloud provides some free credit for the students. You can apply, you can get the credit, you can follow their courses either on, I know Google has courses on Coursera, so you can also get free access to those courses, follow them, and self-teach yourself. I think that's one of the properties of physicists. If we don't know something, we pick up a book and we learn it. So I think this is a good starting point. One resources in terms of books. These are very good books depending on the topic you want to learn, in my opinion. Online courses, if you want to get started with something. On Coursera, both of these, the deep learning specialization by Deep Learning AI, and then data science specialization by Johns Hopkins University would be great places to start. If you want more books about these topics, machine learning, natural language processing, time series analysis, analytics in general, I have listed a few here. But again, I will share the slides with you. In my final slide, you're going to see the link. You can get access to all of these hyperlinks. Non-technical data science books or data science books gives you even more stories to talk about. Go through them. They give you some conversations. Let's say you're at an event and just want to chat with someone. You don't necessarily want to talk about your project, but you can talk about one of these facts that you've learned from one of these books. They all have audiobook version. That's usually the way I listen to these kind of books, an audiobook when I'm walking, commuting. So consider them. These are good. These are very interesting books I recommend. As I said, if you want more support and resources from the community for data science, physicists that are data scientists, join the APS's topical group on data science, or GDS. We also have been doing a lot of webinars, especially, not especially, but particularly during the COVID pandemic. We've been doing quite a few webinars. If you go to YouTube and just search for APS data science, you would find our channel, and you can go through different talks, and we have speakers from industry, from academia. There is a lot of data science opportunity within the physics world itself. So chances are you want to stay in physics, you want to stay connected with physics, and you can still do data science, but apply the methods in the physics world. All right, so this is my last slide. And as I mentioned, this is the short link that you can, through this, access this deck, bit.ly SPS 2020 fall, and make sure that this is case sensitive. So follow the case here. And, I like this code a lot, that, choose a job you love and you will never have to work a day in your life. That's really the key. And if this is your area that you're passionate about, spend some time and learn all the requirements, all of the skills that are expected of you to know. And you can continue working with doing the work that you really appreciate. If you want it to be physics related, as I said before, a lot of national labs, a lot of universities are or companies are looking for physicists that have the skill set of a data scientist. So you would be well positioned for doing that, because guess what? A physicist can become a data scientist, right? By overnight. By overnight, I mean maybe it would be taking 6 months, 9 months, but in that time period, a data scientist cannot become a physicist. So you have that advantage, competitive advantage, and if that's the area you're interested in, keep looking, and best of luck. Thank you very much for your attention.
Hi, thank you so much, Mohammad. That was awesome. We have one question already in the chat, but everybody can put their questions in the Q&A feature and we'll get to them. We have, can you recommend a good book for stats that are needed for data science?
One of these books I mentioned here, An Introduction to Statistical Learning, I think that will be a good starting point for stats. Also, some of these courses, for instance, the specialization that I mentioned by Johns Hopkins University, that one, I believe one of the courses is completely on statistical inference. So that will be also very related to the stats you would need for solving a data science problem.
Thank you. We have another question. What summer fellowships do you recommend?
I don't know. There are so many options out there, and I am not familiar with all of them. But I would say, if you can find people who have done those fellowships or internships and in the previous years, and ask for their opinion, what was the application process like? What kind of projects did they do? What they accomplished by the end? That would be, will inform you, first of all, helping you to apply with the required, follow the best practices. If you ask someone who was admitted, that would help you a little bit on that area. But also check for the companies and see if you can find internships, especially if you want to do data science. That is kind of becoming the norm, becoming the expectation that you should have some internship experience. And unfortunately, I do not see physics students, even either undergraduate level or graduate level, doing enough internships before they graduating. And I think that kind of culture and that kind of support system at the university levels, it should change. The truth is, more than 50% of physics graduates are going to be working on a field that is not physics related. So that is just a fact. And we gain a lot of, as you saw, a lot of transferable skills that we can find physicists in any area. And usually they're doing an awesome job, even though they didn't have that official training. But, it's kind of difficult when you get out of physics and you want to get a job as an electrical engineer, right? It's going to be difficult. You want to get a job as a data scientist. And I think doing an internship would definitely, it's much easier to get an internship without the prior experience, right? So check for the companies and even push your department to help you more with that. A lot of the departments right now, I'm at the business school and I kind of feel like, we are spoiling our students with all of the support that we are providing. I did not receive any support at the physics department, right? So it's a great thing we are doing for the students, but I wish the physics departments would do a little bit more, just they wouldn't focus on the training to get a PhD, go do a postdoc, second postdoc, third postdoc, faculty position, etc. So the only way the curriculum, I mean, things are changing, but before then, that things change for the best. You have to, be proactive and find those opportunities elsewhere, such as, find yourself an internship if your department is not doing that.
Thank you. If anybody has any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A. While we wait to see if any more come in, I had a question. You mentioned a bunch of this, like these storytelling opportunities you had during your interviews. Do you have a project that was your favorite, and can you explain why?
I think the two projects I put there in the slides, the robotic one, and also the weather forecasting one, both of them were my favorite. But if I wanted to pick one that actually got me the job that I did, but I really enjoyed doing that job for 3.5 years, was the weather forecast. And the story goes as I went for multiple rounds of interview, and this was after they contacted me and asked me to apply, and did 2 phone interviews, and then I went in person for a half day and gave a talk. Then I asked them, what do you want me to talk about? I can talk about the data science project, or I can talk about my PhD research. They said, oh, please focus on your PhD research. And I said, well, can you give me an idea who's going to be there in my talk, and are there any physicists? So, well, we're going to have these many people. And then they told me the background at a high level. None of them were physicists except one person who had an undergraduate in physics and a PhD in computer science. So my talk was, not the best talk ever I have given, because they kind of liked it, because I started from, basics of quantum mechanics, and I brought them all the way to my research. But I think I lost them 10 minutes into the talk because they didn't have the prior background. And I think that gave them a lot of more questions than just a confirmation that I would be a good fit for this job. I think that was my sense. And after that day, it went by a few weeks and I didn't hear back. I followed up. Are you making any decisions? And they said, actually, yes. Do you have time for lunch this week? I said, yes, I do. So we went for our lunch, and it turned out they really weren't convinced that I can do the job. I can do the data science job, because they couldn't really connect the dots from my research, because it was, physics. And they said, have you done any project outside of physics, like a data science project outside of physics? I said, absolutely, yes. I didn't get a chance to talk to you about it in my personal interviews, in one-on-one interviews, but I told them about the weather forecasting, and they were so excited about it. They asked me follow-up questions, and the same evening, I believe, or maybe it was the next day, I got a phone call and I got the offer. So I think that was all was needed. And I tried to some of the interviews bring up other projects, but typically, you want to stick with the questions they ask. You want to find opportunities to talk about other things that you've done, right? And I was trying to do that, but perhaps either I hadn't mentioned it or they forgot in a quick mention, but that was all was needed, right? That extra project for me. If I had said, no, I've only done physics problems, then they would have thanked me most likely, because that lunch, that was the only question they asked me, besides the fact of what kind of food I like at the restaurant and etc. Right? So that was the, what filled that gap.
Thank you for sharing. That's awesome. It's such a great story. I don't know if we have any other questions, but I want to say again, thank you so much. We really appreciate you helping us with our fall virtual Colloquium series. And I want to say thank you to everybody that joined us today. I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope everybody has a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.